my name is Eoin McCarthy, and today I'll be taking you through a step-by-step tutorial on a longer men's layered haircut using a combination of tools. The look I was aiming to create here was inspired by traditional or retro European men's style. Something that you could see, for example, in Italian football players or models. Before I started this haircut, I assessed the fixed factors, like we always do at Area Academy. This helped me in reverse engineering the haircut and mapping out the different shapes I wanted to create within each zone. In this case, when working with a pivot point mannequin head, I'm looking for the current length and shape of the hair, which is usually all the same when it comes straight out of the box. As I was trying to maintain as much length as possible, I searched for the shortest point of the hair as my guide. This haircut is made up of square shapes in each zone, with some slight triangular features on the horizontal plane. I started my sectioning by creating a box section on the apex panel to separate the top from the back and sides. I then used the back corner of that section to separate the side panels from the back by taking a section from the corner to behind the ear on both sides. The back is one zone, although through the back I split the entire panel in two due to how large it is. So the space bun looking sections are all part of the back panel. This then leaves me with my mapped out haircut. The first zone I approached in this haircut was the back panel, due to the fact that it was the largest zone of the head and will dictate the rest of the haircut structure and choices of length. The length at the back will give me my length for the sides, and the length at the back will also give me my length for the top. To begin, I razored out a square line at the exterior, using the shortest hair behind the ears as a reference point. Once the exterior was outlined, I then created a profile guide down the centre back to create my length and shape for the zone. This entire back panel will be cut square through both axes to retain maximum length at the exterior. Next, I used the recently cut length at the exterior as my guide, as well as the mechanics of using my comb to cut a square line vertically, and I used my razor to create a dishevelled line. From here, I took vertical sections parallel to the profile guide on both the right and left hand side. I then introduced some over direction so that each new section travelled back to the previous section, and the guide continued to travel with me. If section 1 is the profile guide, 2 travels to meet 1, 3 travels to meet 2, 4 travels to meet 3, and so on. Refer to the head sheet attached to see the full numeric breakdown. I completed the process on both sides before I released the top half of this panel. When working through the rest of this panel, I used the same sectioning pattern as below, only this time I chose to use my scissor and I stood on the left hand side the whole time for visibility and control of the vertical axis. In this zone, I again created a square shape both vertically and horizontally. Once this zone was complete, I moved on to the 2 side panels. I started by establishing the exterior line with my razor, matching it to the length at the back. I then sectioned out a piece from the back as a guide to build my square shape vertically, using the line I just created at the bottom as a reference point. Throughout this panel, I utilised over direction to create a horizontally triangular shape. Each new vertical section travelled back to meet the very first one behind the ear. Take notice that my body position changed depending on what side of the head I was cutting on, but the cutting system remained the same. On the left hand side of my mannequin I stood in the front, and on the right I stood behind. Once completed on both sides, I visually cross-checked and then I unclipped the top. Through the top I started down the centre with a profile guide. This decided my choice of length and shape for the zone, which was again square vertically and horizontally. I used a reference point from the crown to gauge my length and worked forward, cutting a square vertical line to meet the length at the front of the head. Once I created the profile guide, I then used a numeric sectioning system and over direction on the top to create a square shape horizontally, taking vertical sections, subdividing and either pushing or pulling depending on what side I was working on, each new section into the last, working towards the rounding of the head. To have full control of both shape axes, I stood on the left hand side the entire time. Being right-handed, this is my preference for styles that progress from shorter to longer vertically, meaning going from the back to the front vertically. Once I completed the shape on top, I applied some motion matte paste before styling the hair. When the paste was spread through the hair evenly and consistently, I used a styling comb and movement clips to place the hair exactly where I wanted it to sit before naturally drying the hair. I used the diffuser on my Dyson Supersonic very lightly and left the rest to dry naturally. This is also something that I would advise my clients with this length hair to do. Why is that? It avoids the hair becoming too frizzy or swelling up too much. I like to keep these styles more compact. I finished by twisting in some feature pieces and using some hairspray to add hold. Thanks for watching. I'm sure you would have taken a few nuggets out of that one. To watch more in-depth tutorials on all different lengths and all different styles, explore the rest of our platform